So with the ATP season starting in a couple of days' time, it's time to go through the rankings predictions for the top 10. This time next year, what is it going to look like? I'm going to try and do my best to figure it out. But I want to know from you, where do you think everyone's going to fall in the rankings? Give me your predictions down below. But let's get started with the number 10. So coming in at number 10 for my rankings for this time next year, I've gone with Ugo Humbert. Now, as we go along, I know some of you are going to be shouting in the comments, where is so-and-so? But I'm going to give a justification. I'm going to go with Humbert at number 10. I feel like he's just been on the brink. He's got some points to gain at a lot of big tournaments, but he's currently 14 in the world as well. Had a great end of the year as well. He's got points to gain at places like Roland Garros. Now, he's not the best clay court player, but still, in France, maybe there's some points he can gain there with the crowd support. Also, US Open, he was very disappointing. He could gain some points there. And also somewhere like a Cincinnati, maybe it's a little bit too quick for him. But then again, he did do well in Paris last year, so maybe he can gain some points there. He has got points to lose, of course, at Wimbledon, where he made the 4th round. He also has points at Monte Carlo. And then the big one being in Paris last year, ending the year off, making the final of the Paris Indoors. So I feel like there's a lot of upside, especially at the Slams, if he can finally perform on the big stage. And I've got him at number 10 to finish the year. Coming at number 9 now, and I've gone with Hubie Hurkacz. With the coaching changes that he's had, I believe that he is going to do well, especially with Lendl in his box. I'm back in Hubie Hurkacz. Currently number 16 in the world, had a very injury-prone season, especially in the second half of the year. Points to gain, made the second round of Wimbledon. At Wimbledon, he's made a semi before. Who knows what he could do with the power of Lendl behind him at Wimbledon especially. So a lot of points to gain there. Also, at the end of the season in Shanghai, the tournament that he won in 2023, and also Paris at the indoor tournament, a lot of points to gain there. And also, if he does perform well outside of the big tournaments, which he is good at, the 500 events, especially the grass ones. He does have points to lose, though. In Australia, made the quarterfinals, so a lot of points to lose at the start of the year. Roland Garros made the 4th round. And like I said, outside of the big tournaments, he has 1,000 points approximately to lose. So he does have to perform well at the big tournaments to compensate for that, but at number 9 for me. Coming in number 8, I've gone with Taylor Fritz. I feel like he's going to have a bit of a slide next year. I mean, he's had such a great season in 2024. Currently number 4 in the world, of course, thanks to that US Open final and making the finals, the ATP finals. But I just feel like he might have a backward slide. He does have points to gain, though, at places like Miami, where he had a terrible run last year. Also Cincinnati and Paris, which are tournaments that he could definitely perform well at with his big serve. But the points to lose, this is where it gets sketchy. Is obviously points to lose at the US Open final, points to lose at the ATP finals, and also a couple of quarterfinals in Australia and Wimbledon. So that's going to be really tough at the Slams. If he does have an upset in one of those tournaments, it's really going to affect him. And also, if he doesn't make the ATP finals, that could affect him too. But I'm backing him to be number 8, so he will be qualified for that. But I've got him sliding a little bit backwards this year just because he set the bar so high in 2024. Coming number 7 now, and I've gone with Rublev at number 7. I think last year I might have kicked him out of the top 10, or maybe 2 years ago, so I've learned from my mistake. He's currently number 8, so I reckon he's probably about where he should be. And in 12 months' time, he'll probably be about where he is now. He's got points to gain at Wimbledon, of course. He lost in the first round, a big upset. He's got points to gain as well at Monte Carlo, which he won in 2023. And also Shanghai, which he made the final in 2023. So a couple of tournaments there to make some points. And also, he didn't make any points up at the ATP finals. So potentially, if he gets a couple of wins there and does well to end the year, he could also gain some points. He does, however, have some points to lose at the Australian Open, of course. At the start of the year, he made the quarterfinals. Also, he won Madrid, so he's got to defend that as well. And also Canada, he made the final. So there's a lot of points there. So 3 big events there that he's got to defend points. But if he doesn't defend those points and he does make up the points that I've said through those tournaments he's done well in the past, he's probably going to even out about where he is now. And that's why I've got him at number 7. Coming number 6 now, and he's burnt me before, but I'm going back to it. Holger Rune, I'm putting him at number 6. I think I put him at number 4 last year, and obviously he had a pretty dodgy season in 2024. Currently 13 in the world, but I reckon he gets it together and gets back in the top 10 in 2025. Got points to gain at the US Open, Australian Open Miami, also Madrid and Rome, where he's done well on the clay in the past. And the points to lose at the Slams, I mean, he made a couple of 4th rounds, but still not that many points really to lose. The big one being the semi-final in Cincinnati and also the semi-final in Paris, but also outside of the big tournaments, about a third of his ranking points are at those events. So if he starts making good at the Slams like we all expect him to, then who knows what he can do. I'm backing him to make number 6 in the world. And I know he burnt me last year, but I'm gonna go back to that. Coming in number 5 now, I've gone with Daniil Medvedev, who's currently number 5 in the world. So I'm thinking he's going to be in the same spot this time next year. Of course, has a lot of points to gain at places like Monte Carlo, I know it's on the clay, but, he has shown that he can play on clay before. Also places like Canada and Cincinnati where he has won those events before. So if he does have a good US Open series, especially outside of that US Open, there's a potential amount of points there to gain. But he does have points to lose straight up at the start of the year in Australia, also the Wimbledon semi-finals, and Indian Wells as well. So the start of the year is really going to be crucial for Medvedev to kind of save his points, especially before the clay season, because we all know that sometimes he plays well on clay, but it's not a given. So that being said, I reckon he's going to probably stay at number 5, especially because the guys I have ahead of him, I think are just going to deny him of winning those big trophies that are going to get him those points to get in the top 3 or 2. Coming number 4 now, I've got Alexander Zverev, currently number 2 in the world, which I think is probably surprising for a lot of people, considering that it feels like this year, or 2024, has been the season of Alcaraz Sinner. Zverev has kind of broken that up a little bit, but Zverev does have a lot of points to gain at some of the smaller events, including Monte Carlo and Madrid, which he's won in the past, also Shanghai as well, but the points to lose, he's got a lot of points to lose at these big tournaments, including the French Open final, of course. He's got the semi-finals of Australia to protect, also winning Rome and Paris at the end of the year, and also the ATP finals. So a lot of points at some key events there for Zverev to try and protect, but I reckon he stays in the top 4, but a little bit of a backward slide from this time last year. Coming number 3 now, and I've got Novak Djokovic. I am a believer. I've picked him in my rankings, in my predictions for the slams. If you go check that one out, spoiler alert, you don't know which one it is, but I picked him to win one at the Slam, so I'm a believer. I reckon Novak's not done yet. He's still got another good year in him. He's currently number 7, of course, after a very disappointing second half of the season and some random results as well. He's got so many points to gain at places like the US Open, where he had that shock loss in the 3rd round. Miami, which he's done so well in the past, if he decides to play that. The US Open warm-up events, didn't play them in 2024 due to the fact that he won the Olympics, so he wanted a break. Also Paris and the ATP finals, didn't play those events. So I'm backing Nole to play a lot more 1,000. I know he said he's only focusing on slams and Davis Cup, but I reckon he might play a couple of those 1,000s. Of course, points to lose. Australian Open semis was a big one at the start of the year. Wimbledon final, that's pretty much the only reason why he's kind of still in the top 8 or even the top 10. I mean, you take that away, he drops down a lot further. And also Shanghai, ended the season really well, making the final there, losing to Sinner, but had a good run to end the season. I'm backing him to go to number 3. Coming number 2 now, I've got Carlos Alcaraz. Now, this might be a bit of a surprise considering what's at stake or what's at play behind the scenes with the Sinner stuff, but I'm going to back Alcaraz to stay at number 2, or at least get to number 2. He's currently number 3 in the world. Of course, he's got points to gain at the US Open, where he had that shocking defeat to Van der Zandschulp. Also has a lot of points to gain on the clay because he didn't play Monte Carlo or Rome before the French Open, so there's some potential there as well. But the points to lose, he's got to protect the points at Roland Garros, Wimbledon, and also Indian Wells are the big 3 events that he has to protect. Now, he probably does protect those. He's done so well at those events consistently over the years, but I've got him ahead of Zverev, or at least I've got him getting into number 2 spot and taking that away from Zverev currently, but I haven't got him at number 1. I'll tell you who I have got at number 1 though. So coming in number 1, I've got Jannik Sinner. Now, again, this is a tough one because it should probably have an asterisk next to it, because if this time next year he's banned for 9 months, how are we supposed to know that? So I'm going to put an asterisk next to this. I don't know if I can do that, but I'm doing it. It's my rankings, I'm doing it. He has got some points to gain, Sinner, despite having one of the greatest seasons in recent history. Indian Wells made the semis there, lost all the points, obviously, because of the failed drug test. He didn't play Rome, which, of course, is his home tournament, especially on the clay. Points to gain there, and also the Paris Indoors at the end of the year, which I think he is very likely to win in his career. Of course, a lot to lose at the Grand Slams, Australian Open, US Open. He's the defending champion. Also the 1,000 events. He dominated in Miami, Cincinnati, Shanghai, and then the ATP finals. Obviously a massive amount of points there as well. And with the WADA appeal, if he is banned for the middle of the season or a couple of months, he's going to lose the chance to defend some of these points. So I reckon that Alcaraz will be number 1 at some point, but I think Sinner will end the year at number 1. So that's what these rankings are all about. That's what I'm picking for Sinner. Again, with an asterisk, because there's so much unknown going on with this case. So there you have it. That is my top 10. Now, let me know down in the comments below if you agree with it. Let me know what your predictions are for the top 10. Now, I know a lot of you are probably screaming, Cam, why didn't you put Draper in the top 10? I nearly did. I nearly put him at number 10, but I just don't trust his body enough. I don't think he's consistent enough. That's what I'm doing. I didn't put Draper in. Don't come at me, please. So let me know in the comments below what your ranking predictions are for the 2025 season. I've got Sinner at number 1, but like I said, maybe a little asterisk depending on that case in February.